Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar talks about email deliverability best practices. Today we'll talk about all the best methods that are available and that you can follow so that you can win the inbox race. That is how safely and how well you can let your emails reach your subscribers' inbox. That's what we'll talk about today. But before that, what I want to say is you can also connect with us. I have provided the social media handle details on the top right corner. My name is Sushmit. I am a product marketing associate with Zoho Campaigns. And so, without further delay, let's begin the webinar. As you can see that this is the image of an envelope with a tick sign, which is basically the icon for the email, and the tick sign says that the email has been delivered. But very often if we say that the email has been delivered, we have to take a look whether it was delivered in the whether it was delivered to the intended inbox that was as thought by the sender, because many a times the email does get delivered, but it might get delivered to some other folder apart from the one or the main inbox that the sender intended the email to go to. So, taking into account that there are these uncertainties, we will talk about the aspect of email deliverability today. And in order to make things a bit interactive, I have given the example of an imaginary company called Zilker Fashions, and we'll see to it what kind of email deliverability problems they have faced, so that we can take a note of these problems along with the best practices that will be talked about today. We will do this so that you will take a look at the examples, you can take a look at the best practices, and by which you can better your email deliverability rates. So Zilker Fashion has been facing some problems regarding email deliverability, as we already talked. They are unable to build connections with their customers. That's how what we'll see why. Their sales figures have plummeted, very apparent. If you don't properly communicate with your customers, your sales figures will plummet. But the worst thing is that domain has been blacklisted. So all this have happened, and we will take a look at this from a closer angle. But before that, we'll take a look at the story of Zilker Fashion, that they are a new name in the fashion and apparel industry. But in this very short time, they have created quite a wave. But of late, their emails are no longer landing in the recipient inboxes. Now, that's something to worry. But they want to know what is the reason behind it, and so that it is quickly resolved and they can get back to better days as soon as possible. So, to take us through the webinar, we have John, who is the email deliverability expert. And John is going to talk to Jane, who is the email marketer with Zilker Fashion. And with the conversation, we'll understand what went wrong for Zilker Fashion. And John will definitely prescribe some best practices and methods which Zilker Fashion can adhere to hereafter. So John says it's a matter of email deliverability. Let's take a look at the things from a closer angle. Let's join John in unraveling the mystery behind the lost email. Areas of investigation, or rather the topics in discussion today, will be domain and IP, domain authentication, spam, contact lists, segmentation, email content, and finally blacklists. First, let's take a look at domain and IP. What is domain name? Very specifically said, a domain name is the identity of your website. It is via this domain name that the internet users can access your website. In this case, it is zilkerfashion.com. So domain name gives an identity to a brand in the internet. What is a sending IP? Sending IP address is also called internet protocol, is a unique arrangement of numbers and letters, or only numbers, Now, the domain is owned by the organization or the brand, but the IP address is provided by the email marketing platforms. What are TXT records? We have to understand what TXT records are, because during domain authentication, we have to know about TXT records more. So it's a type of DNS record where SPF and DKIM records are added so that the domain authentication process is done. So there are two kinds of IP addresses, shared and dedicated. As you can see by the name, shared IP addresses are provided to more than one domain, and dedicated IP addresses are given to only one domain. Like one domain will get only one dedicated IP address. How is it determined who gets a dedicated IP address or not? It's based on the sending frequency of the organization along with the email sending volume. So large volumes of emails have to be sent out, and that has to be very consistent in its in its process. In case of shared IP, this large volume is taken into account, because in this case the it's this sending volume is pooled. The amount of domains that own this particular IP address, it's pooled. So the accumulated sending volume is taken into account, which is most of the times high. So in that case, it is all right. Why is this difference between shared and dedicated IP addresses? Because many a times, if a particular IP address shows a spike in the sending volume, then the recipient inbox service providers will take that IP into account and will scrutinize that IP address or the domain, and will check that everything is all right or not. So unnecessary suspicion is created with sudden rise in sending volume. As it's mentioned that shared IP is best for small businesses, small organizations who don't send emails in high volumes on a very consistent level. But dedicated IP address is well suited for bigger organizations who send emails in high volumes quite regularly. Now let's take a look at authentication. Now John has to ask something to Jane. John says that let's begin with the basics, and asks Jane whether Zilker Fashions completed the domain authentication or not. To which Jane replies that they had thought of doing so, but eventually forgot. That's a big problem. Now John says that, okay, let's look at the concepts in detail. So there are three domain authentication methods: SPF or Sender Policy Framework, DKIM or Domain Keys Identified Mail, and DMARC policy. In case of SPF, it's a Sender Policy Framework. It's known as Sender Policy Framework. It's an email authentication technique. Lets the domain user or owner list those servers owned by the list those servers which are allowed to send email on behalf of the domain. In this case, the domain user says that which IP addresses are allowed to send email, and it's seen whether this IP address and the domain that are matched with each other are all right or not. If they are found to be all right by the ISPs, the recipient ISPs, then only the emails are allowed to enter the inbox. As I have said, it also enables the domain owner to list down the IP that is allowed to send email on behalf of the domain. And if this matching of the domain and the IP address is found to be authentic, only after that the recipient inbox service providers allow the email to be put in the inbox. This prevents spammers from sending spam emails on behalf of a particular IP address. Like if you do SPF domain authentication, then your IP address or the sending IP address and your domain will be safe, and spammers cannot send emails using these particular domain or IP address. Now let's talk about DKIM, also known as Domain Keys Identified Mail. It's an email authentication method. What DKIM does is it puts an encrypted digital signature in the email's header, and this acts in two ways. When the sender is doing the DKIM domain authentication, this email signature is going to be put in the email's header, and along with that a private key is put, which is taken into account when the recipient inbox service providers are going to receive it. They're going to match it with a corresponding public key, and if this private key and the public key matches, then the email is considered to be safe and authentic, and hence it is placed in the inbox. Now let's take a look at DMARC. DMARC, also known as Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting and Conformance. DMARC is a policy that basically brings both SPF and DKIM together with the binding set of policies. Now, when you do the DMARC authentication, in that case, you tell the recipient ISPs about the methods that you have adhered to in terms of domain authentication. And your DMARC policy then acts as a guide, instructing or basically guiding the ISP or the recipient ISPs to take a decision regarding the email, whether to accept it or to reject it. If the said methods that you have said that you have adhered to, if they're found to be true, if they're found to be completely consistent with what you have said, then the email will be allowed to enter the inbox. Otherwise, they might be rejected. This is the domain authentication technique of the process. I will show it to you how you can authenticate your domain in Zoho Campaigns. First, you have to go to settings. In settings, you have to go to the section called deliverability. Under that, there's a section called manage senders. In manage senders, you can add a new sender. By doing so, you have to put the email address from where the email is going to go. That's the new sender's email address. By doing so, that person or that email address will receive a confirmation email, and upon confirmation, that particular email address will be put in this section called domain authentication under the sender domain category. And there you will find that both SPF and DKIM domain authentication techniques will be shown, whether they are done or not. Now, if you want to set up SPF and DKIM domain authentication for that particular sender, then what you can do is you can click on setup. Now, after doing this, you will find that there are the TXT records for SPF and DKIM respectively, which you can copy and you can both of these, which you can copy and you can paste it in the DNS record, or rather in your DNS record, and thus that sender will have the domain authentication completed. As you can see, it's already mentioned here that it may take about 24 to 48 hours for your TXT records to get published in DNS servers. So you need to wait till the records are published and get your domain authenticated. Now let's talk about spam. John, as usual, will ask some questions because Zilker Fashions is in a situation where they had to face a lot of troubles. So John is asking, tell me something, did any email recipient mark your email as spam? To which Jane answers, yes, that their contacts have marked their emails as spam. And she says that she has heard that it's very dangerous, and so she asks if John can help. To which John replies, actually, spam is a dangerous thing, but John says first we need to take a look at spam and understand the concept better. There are three types of spam traps: pristine spam traps, recycled spam traps, typos or fake email IDs. In case of pristine spam traps, they are not real email addresses. They were never real email addresses. They were created for the purpose of capturing spammers. Because these email addresses are usually placed in such lists which are borrowed or purchased. Now, with buying and borrowing of lists, one problem definitely stays throughout. That is, if you are buying or borrowing a list, you are basically getting a list which has contacts, email IDs who might not be necessarily interested in your product or your services, because you have not talked to them, you don't know them, and neither they know you and your product or your services that you're providing or your brand is providing. So in the first step itself, there is going to be miscommunication. Apart from that, if also there is no miscommunication, then there are definite chances where you might send an email to a pristine spam trap. Recycled spam traps are those email addresses that were at some point of time active. They had the email address owners who actively used the email address during that time, but now they are no more active. These email addresses are no more active. Hence, they have been transformed into spam traps. And these also at times appear in purchased or borrowed lists. On the other hand, they might also appear in your email list as well. What do you need to do for this? You need to do list management. That is, you need to trim your list and make it hygienic. Now, many a times you might have sent an email to someone, let's say 6 months back, and 6 months hence you're sending another email, but this email address might not be active then. So you need to take a look that after a long time, when you're trying to send re-engagement campaigns or emails during some seasonal offer or something, how much of an interactivity is taking place with these emails sent to these email addresses. And if you face soft bounce or hard bounce, you have to take care of these email addresses and trim them off the list so that your list hygiene is maintained and you don't send emails to recycle spam traps. Because more the chances of you sending emails to recycle spam traps, more the chances of your domain reputation to go down. Next, we'll talk about typos or fake email addresses. Sorry, typos and fake email addresses. As the name suggests, typos are typographical errors, so they are mistakes from your side when you are noting down some email address in a live event or in a conference or anything. If you make a typo, you might write down an email address which might not exist in real life. And if you send emails to such email addresses, then email deliverability issues will be faced. Same way, if someone provides a fake email address, then that email address also doesn't exist in real life. And sending emails to such email addresses can also lead to email deliverability issues. The best thing to do in such cases is to go for opt-in. By allowing the subscribers or the email recipients to opt in, you will understand whether the particular email address is authentic or not, and whether the person who is the owner of that email address wants to receive emails from you or not. In this case, the best way is to go for double opt in. We will take a look at these things again. As I said, we'll take a look at these things again. It's because we will take a detailed look into these things. So, what should you do? Always keep a track of your sender reputation. Always build your lists organically and avoid buying or borrowing lists. As I have said, your sender reputation is very important in email marketing, and any kind of damage in the sender reputation will affect in your email marketing methods. Building lists organically will not only allow you to understand your subscribers or your contacts well, but it will also make you sure about the people who are actually interested in the products or services that your brand is catering. This will naturally create a lot of it will naturally bridge a lot of communication gap that might have that could have appeared if the list management was not proper. But if you actually build a list organically, these problems won't be there. Now, you should never send out emails before letting your subscribers opt in, as I said. So, with opt in, you will get to know whether the subscriber is interested in your emails or not. With opt in, you will understand whether the subscriber wants to receive emails from you or not, whether the topics that you are talking about are corresponding with the tastes and preferences of your email recipients or not. You have to check the reports regularly in order to understand the engagement pattern that you have been able to achieve. How much of interaction have your emails generated? And all this will let you understand whether your subscribers and email recipients are happy with the content that you're sending, are happy with the sending time that you are following. Is any amount of interaction even there? With the amount of interaction, you will understand if the emails are opened, if the emails are clicked or not. So that will give you a good picture of whether you are sending the emails at the right time or not. And you will also get to know who are the inactive contacts. The bounce rates and the unopens will give you a better picture of who are the inactive contacts. You need to trim your lists and remove the inactive contacts. That's very important, because if you send emails to inactive contacts or people who are not interested in receiving emails from you, then there are chances that you might either end up sending emails to spam traps, or you might send emails to email addresses which do not exist, or you might send emails to people who are not interested, and they might eventually might they might mark you as spammer. So these are very dangerous things, and you should trim your lists. By trimming your lists might have lesser contacts, but at least you will know that these are those people who will definitely want to read your emails, will definitely want to read more from your organization, more from your brand. Now let's talk about email contact list. Now, when we are talking about email contact list, we will be looking into things like list management and other things associated with it. Now, what John asks whether they have managed the contact lists properly or not. To which Jane says that they have never looked into this. I mean, this is definitely going to be a problem, which has become a problem for Zilkot Fashion, as we can see. So John asks them to be careful hereafter. And John also says that we need to take a look at the list management from a detailed perspective. As you can see, this is the image of a sign up form. So organic list building is very important, as I have always said. Sign up forms, pop up forms, live events, websites, blogs. These will definitely help you understand who are the people who want to receive emails from you. And there are chances that pristine spam traps uh, or recycled spam traps will end up less or will not at all end up in your email contact list. You can create your lists based on the data received from the contacts, because the data in the sense their first name, their last name, the place that they stay in, these are the data that you can receive, and you can create a list based on the platform from where you have collected the names or the contact email IDs. That is, whether it's a live event or anything. So certain datas that you can get, these datas will help you create lists based on those datas. And their engagement pattern will help you put their contact email IDs in that particular list or in another list based on their engagement pattern over the past few months or over the past period of time. As I had already said, that list cleansing is very important. So to maintain the list hygiene and to reduce or rather eradicate chances of you sending emails to pristine spam traps or recycled spam traps, you can go for list management. List management will also help you remove any fake email ID from the list. You can also keep a close eye on the reports, based on which you can again trim your email contacts list better, so that you can send emails to only the most active contacts, so that the best so that there is so that the best communication is established, and more interactivity is generated from their part. You should get to know the preferences of your email recipients when you're adding them. That is, you should understand what kind of email content they want, and also what time do they want their emails to be sent. Now, very often we say that like it's best to go and send out an email in the morning before your email recipients usually start their day-to-day work, or before their day gets too busy. Or you can do one thing, you can send them emails during the evening after they have completed their daily work, and only during these times they will sit and they will look through the email, and only after that they will find something interesting in the email and will get back to you or will write back to you. As I said, accurate content and conducive time. This will not only fetch more engagement, but the trust factor that you need to establish will be established in this case, because they will always, if you build a pattern of sending emails at a certain point of time which is favorable, then they will also expect to get your emails during those times. And this form of communication is very important in email marketing. How do you get to know about their taste and preferences better? You can conduct polls and surveys so that you can understand whether they are interested in the topics that you're discussing about, the emails that you're sending, or the products and services that you have put in the email. Email marketing is also all about familiarity. That is, how well do you know your customers, and how well your customers or subscribers know you. So there's another way to initiate this is by attaching the V card. You can attach your V card in the email, and you can ask the email recipients to add, you can do one thing, that is, you can ask them to add your vCard in their contacts. So the ISPs, the recipient ISPs, will be familiar with your email address and the details, and only after taking a look at it, they will definitely allow your emails to be placed in the inbox. Now, what Zilker Fashion should have done in their engagement strategy, so that they could have built a better list, they could have built a better communication, they could have, initiated better communication with their customers. What they could have done, rather should have done, was to go with a proper welcome email, and then a proper welcome email series. This would have helped them know who are the customers that want emails from them, who wants to be updated regarding any new development, and who don't. So this could also have been achieved with the help of a workflow. With the case of a workflow, as you can see, you can collect names from different avenues, and after that you can send them emails, welcome emails, telling them more about the product or the brand or the services, after which you will understand who are responsive and who are not. In that case, you can tag them as responsive or unresponsive. The people who are responsive, you can send them a confirmation email or something like that, or you can take them to the next set of emails. The people who are not responsive, you can send them a reminder email, and then probably see if they are still responsive or not, based on which you can make your decision and you can trim your list and you can manage them properly. Since we talked about list management, we also need to take a look at segmentation. Let's take a look at list management from a closer angle. Now, when I'm talking about segmentation helps you put a number of your customers together under one segment based on a common factor. Now, that common factor can be demographic, common factor can be their geographical location, it can be the activity and interaction that they have done so far with the previous emails. It can also be in accordance to their status in the sales funnel, whether they are prospective leads or not. It can be based on their previous purchasing behavior. With the previous purchasing behavior, you might have also seen it that if you have purchased a cell phone from any platform, they might have also suggested that later on, when you might have logged in to buy something else, they might have suggested that a pair of earphones that usually people purchased with that cell phone. So this is called cross selling. So with past purchasing behavior, cross selling and understanding the tastes and preferences of the customer becomes very easy. And this happens only with proper segmentation. And you can also segment in accordance to the designation. Now let's take a look at the story of segmentation that was implemented by Zilker Fashions or was not implemented by Zilker Fashions. Now, Zilker Fashions, they started sending generalized content to everyone because they didn't segment the lists. And what happened was this generalized content, let's say, was if it was something like new launch of apparels in men's clothing. So in that case, that would definitely resonate with the tastes and preferences of the male subscribers. It would not really be useful to the female subscribers who were interested in Zilker Fashion. So what happened was initially it was going well, but eventually when this generalized when this generalized content and the trend of sending out generalized content became very continuous in nature and consistent, then people started to interact less with these emails, due to which, as you can see, there has been a dip in the sales figure. The first half of the email marketing calendar shows that there is 77% sales, as the second half of the email marketing calendar shows there is only 51% sales. So there is a definite dip. what should have been done was, if segmentation was done properly, in that case, you could have seen that segmentation would lead to accurate content. Since Zilker Fashion is a clothing company, Zilker Fashions could have segmented their lists in accordance to the gender of their email subscribers, and they could have sent out new any information regarding clothes in the women's clothing line, or to the female subscribers, and new information or update regarding some new launch in men's apparel to the male subscribers. That would have allowed Zilker Fashions to send out accurate emails to their subscribers and customers, leading to better communication, lack of communication gap, and also more interactivity. As you can see, proper segmentation leads to accurate content and accurate timing. The timing also in this case becomes accurate, since you will understand when to send an email to whom, as we have already talked about the timing. This is, as you can see, an email related to men's fashion wear could have been sent to, let's say, John, if the segmentation was done properly, and new information regarding women's clothing line, that email could have been sent to Jane if the segmentation was done properly. In that case, accurate content could have been given to all the subscribers. There would have been lesser amounts of complaints, or maybe lesser number of unsubscribes, and more interactivity and more engagement could have been fetched from these emails. Now let's take a look at email content. Now, when we are talking about email content, we are talking about the email long before it has been opened, till the time when the email has been read. Let's take a look at, before the email is actually opened, what should have been done. But before that, John is going to ask something. John asks whether Zilker Fashions has been careful or not regarding their email content, to which Jane replies that they have been careful with this regard. It's good news then, if they have been careful with their content. Now, what does John have to say? Okay, so John asks if any spammy words or spammy elements were used or they were avoided. To which Jane replies that she is not aware of spammy words, and she asks what they are. And since it contains the word spam, she thinks it is dangerous. Now let's see what John has to say. John says that we need to take a closer look at email content so that we can see to it that how things can be avoided. You can see from these examples as to how you can avoid spammy content or spammy elements in your content, in your email content. As I said, long before the email is opened, the concept of content comes into existence. So this is one of the emails that Zilker Fashion had sent. Now, what is wrong with this? Let's take a look at it. The sender name says Zilker Fashion, so nothing wrong with that. The pre-header says, never before seen discounts on our new summer collection. And the subject line says, the best offers and discounts. Although it might look all right, although it might seem like there is no problem with this, but there can be a subtle problem here. As you can see, the words best, offer, and discounts, they are tricky. They can be considered to be spammy words. Hence, when you are writing subject lines and pre-headers, you should always take into account that you avoid such words and such elements. As per the sender name, you can give the sender name of the brand and also the person who's sending the email along with that. Now, what should have been done? If this could have been written in a better way without any spammy content, The sender name says it's Zilker Fashion. Good. Here the pre-header says, be a part of the summer fashion wagon at low prices. And the subject line says, take a look at our new summer collection. This also creates curiosity among the people. Plus, this doesn't have any spammy elements or spammy words in the pre-header, subject line, or sender name. So here, in this case, before the email is actually opened, this kind of content is good. Now let's take a look at the email template and see what could have been done better, what could have been corrected. Now where it went wrong for Zilker Fashions. Now Zilker Fashion says that it's the best offer. So as I said, that the word best is at times considered to be a spammy word. Next, in this email, they have not maintained a consistency in terms of fonts. So there is discontinuity in font style. And now let's take a look at this. The word discount is in red, which might make it stand out. Nonetheless, any amount of inconsistency always attracts suspicion from the recipient ISPs. And this is a very important point. A JPEG image is used even when a PNG image already exists below that. So JPEG images are bigger in size, and the email, while it's being opened, it will take a longer time for the recipient to open and read the email. Plus, if the email content is too extravagant with too many images and discontinuity in font and colors, then it will only attract scrutinization from the ISPs, and chances are that the email might not be allowed to enter the inbox, but it might be either put in some other folder or it might be marked as a spam altogether. So what should have been done? Now let's take a look at a perfectly made email template without any spammy elements. What should have been done by Zilker Fashions? As you can see, it contains the word welcome, which is not a spammy word. Plus, you can see that the entire content has uniform color and fonts. And as I said, there is the use of PNG images, which is a better option. And now take a look here. It contains the unsubscribe option, which enables the email sender not only respect the tastes and preference of the choices of the recipient, but also allows the sender to adhere to the given policies and principles, which makes an email template completely safe for the recipient. And you also have to make sure that the unsubscribe option, it is very swift. It is not ambiguous, because very many times we see that these unsubscribe options, when we want to unsubscribe from receiving emails, we click on them, but they are slow, and at times they are not very clear. So you should stay away from such practices. You have to provide an unsubscribe option so as to respect the choices of the email recipient, and also you have to make sure that the unsubscribe button works well and there is swift opting out process for the email recipient. Last but not the least, we'll take a look at blacklists. Blacklists, as we said now, John says that blacklists, as the term suggests, it is definitely not something good. Blacklists are lists which contains the IP addresses and domains which are marked as spammers. Now, inbox service providers keep a tab on these lists. And what do? They don't allow any emails to enter into the inbox if they have come from such IP addresses and domains. Domains and IP addresses are marked based on the complaints. That is, based on what your email recipients have said. More the complaints from your email recipients regarding it can be spam complaint. More the complaints, more are the chances that your domain or IP address is going to be marked and it's going to be put in the blacklists. If you are continuously sending emails to email IDs which are inactive, then in that case, there are chances that you can, or your domain and IP can be listed in these blacklists, as I am saying. Now take a look at some of the more notable blacklist publishing platforms like Spamhaus, Spamcop, Barracuda, Invalument, MX Toolbox, Multi RBL, and SURBL. What you need to do is you need to keep a close eye on these platforms to see to it that your domain and IP address never get marked. Now Jane thinks, what is better, prevention or cure? By now she has realized when it comes to blacklists, which I already said is the biggest problem that Zilker Fashion is facing, when it comes to blacklists, it's better to stay away from them, because some small mistake or a mistake which is being continued for a considerable period of time might get your domain or IP address listed among one of these blacklists from one of these publishing platforms. If that happens, then getting the domain or IP delisted itself is a time consuming method. But more so, the big way how it affects is it harms the domain reputation for a considerable period of time, which becomes a big hindrance in the email marketing process. So it's better to stay away from blacklists. So in this case, prevention is anyway better, anytime better than cure. What are some of the best practices? Proper sending pattern, regular sending pattern, and proper sending time of emails will fetch more engagement, more interactivity, and less complaints. Personalization is also another way. With merge tags, you can address an email directly to a person you're sending to. And with dynamic content, you can create two different versions of one email and send out to two segments so that the accurate content is received by each segment. With content, as I have showed, that you have to be careful much before the email is opened till the time the email is read. Be very careful with your content so as to not include any spammy elements in it. Make sure that your content is simple, it gives a proper message, and a clear unsubscribe option is also available. Before ending the webinar, let's take a look at some of the more important things that you need to keep in mind. John says, first and foremost, you need to do is you need to complete your domain authentication. That's one of the most important things or aspects in email deliverability. With domain authentication, you not only ensure your emails to reach the inboxes of your recipients, also you ensure that there is a safe delivery in its process. The next is go for a simpler content and avoid spammy elements. It's all right. You can not opt for an extravagant content. Rather, you can create a content which is simple, has PNG images, has uniformity in fonts and colors, and provides a message that is quite clear. Because the message is the most important part in an email. Along with that, what you need to do is you need to take into account that you provide a very clear and unambiguous unsubscribe option for your email recipients. You should aim for consistency in the content and your claims. This means, let's say your subject line and pre-header says that you are going to provide something in the email, and your email content talks about altogether something different, then there is a gap in the communication that you are going to provide. So the claim that you are making and the content that you are providing is pretty different. That somehow doesn't work well. So your email recipients will never trust you if you are not if you're not giving an email content which is as per the claims that are made in the subject line and the pre-header. The next is, organically you should build your lists, and you should maintain and manage them regularly. That is, you should stay away from purchasing and borrowing lists. You should collect contact email IDs from events and sign up forms websites and other platforms. And along with that, what you need to do is you need to manage them regularly, trim your email uh, contacts list and make them very hygienic, so that you only have those contacts in your email lists who are interested to get or interested to receive emails from you, and you don't end up sending emails to pristine spam traps or recycled spam traps, fake email IDs or typographical or email addresses which you have written down but contains typographical errors. You need to segment your lists properly, because with segmentation only you can provide accurate content. You can provide content at the right time. You will get to know their tastes and preferences. When do they want the emails, what kind of content they want, and in accordance to that you can segment your lists. You can also segment your lists based on the interactivity that has been shown by the contacts, based on their past engagements. You can also segment your email lists in these methods and make sure that you send out accurate content at the right time. You should check the reports regularly, because reports will tell you where it went wrong, what is going wrong, and how quickly it needs to be solved. So reports necessarily allow you to reflect and see what you need to do in order to change the course of action if it is not going in the right direction. Last but not the least, you need to keep a close eye on the blacklists. Take a look at the blacklist publishing platforms and see if your domain or IP address is marked there. The best thing is try to adhere to all the best practices that are available in email under email deliverability, so that your IP and your domain doesn't get marked in these blacklists. So try to stay away from them as much as possible. Have a good email marketing experience. With this, I would like to end today's webinar. I would like to thank all of you for joining us for this webinar, and you can write back to us. This is my email ID, sushmit.s@zohocorp.com. You can also write to our support team at support@zohocampaigns.com. I would like to thank all of you. Thank you very much.